Hey guys, so I'm sure you've heard of the DW Drums 5-position butt plate, or the 3-position model that they had before that. This mechanism, it allows you to easily change the snare tension, right? Well, it's actually a little bit more complicated than that. Let's take a deep dive look and see what this 5P butt plate actually does. So the first thing to note is about pitch. That bottom head, it's fairly thin and it doesn't take that much to increase the tension on it and thus increase the pitch. Just applying the snares is going to cause that snare bed to push up and in on that bottom head and cause the tension to increase. You're likely to see more tension applied near the lugs closest to the snare bed as opposed to the ones further away from it. Now, how much of a tension difference is there? Well, that's a little hard to tell. Testing entirely with a TuneBot, you'll see that the numbers kind of don't reflect the reality. It doesn't reflect the sound of it. When you first turn on the snares, the TuneBot almost loses its mind and starts to think that the pitch has dropped way down. And it's not until the snares start to get really tight that it starts to give you a more accurate reading again. My guess is that there's a big change in the overtones, and that's causing it to understand the pitch differently. So instead, you're going to have to judge this by ear. Now, does it sound like it's going up a full octave? No. Does it sound like it's going up multiple half steps? No, but it's certainly noticeable how much it's going up. Let's take a quick look at this. I have the snares off initially, and I'll go progressively higher on the tension with the 5-position butt plate. And you'll be able to hear how much it's changing in pitch. You'll also be able to see how the TuneBot has a hard time keeping up. We'll look at this away from the snare bed and then near the snare bed. I should note that the switch on the 5-position butt plate has a really solid feel on it. As you're pulling it closer to you, so that's from high tension to low tension, or away from you, that's from low tension to high tension, as you're making those changes, it has a really solid switch to it, and you can tell it's going to stay where you left it. But it does also make an audible noise when you're switching. So this is probably not something you'll want to switch in the middle of the song while the snares are on. Besides changing the pitch, you'll also change how much you're choking up on that bottom head and snare bed. Leaving it loose, you're going to have a really long sizzle, and making it tight, you're going to have a really nice crack. Let's hear how it changes as you go from looser to tighter. We'll listen to both the snare in isolation and a full mix. Now that you know what this thing is doing, what's the true underlying purpose of it? Well, it's really to allow you to have a more versatile snare drum sound, which means you have to change yourself. You have to change how you think about your drum parts, how you're approaching them, and what kind of sounds you may want to get out of those different types of drum parts. It should also be noted that the normal mechanism for making the overall tension higher or lower exists on this just like it does on any other drum. That means that you can shift all of the tensions up higher or shift all the tensions down lower. So you really need to think about where you want all the different things to be, all the different positions to be relative to the different styles you may be playing. Here's some quick tips for you on that. First of all, whatever your normal playing is, make sure it's something in the middle, not the highest tension and not the lowest tension. That way you can always go a little tighter or a little looser later on. My normal position is, say, medium high. If I'm going to be playing a song that's got some intricate snare work, or maybe I'm going to be doing some blast beats, then I'll switch up to that high position. Those lower settings are great if you want to add more characters to the song. Let's say the song is maybe a bit slower, it's more laid back, the snare part is very reserved and there's a lot of space between every single hit. You loosen that up, you have a little bit more sizzle. Now the song's getting a little bit more interesting just from the characteristic from the snares. Here's an example of how loosening the snare bed on a more reserved part can give more character and can give you some different things to play with. Also, when you go with a looser setting like this, don't be afraid to play around with a different position on the top head that you're hitting, because that'll allow you to change the character as well. So I hope you guys found that useful. I do have more stuff coming out all the time. Cymbal reviews and stick reviews and lessons and recording tips. Everything you can imagine drum related. So if you don't want to miss out, then don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, peace.